somehow people can live together in peace, especially when you believe in one God, in the same God. And that peaceful living comes when we understand that the Creator dwells within us.
Yes.
As people say, He lives within my heart. That God, and that I think is the value of interfaith dialogue. That the more we come to understand one another, we understand that we have much more in common, like Teresa of Avila, than we have that divides us. And that it's important to keep talking, to keep speaking, to keep in dialogue, so that we can understand. And the more we do, peace and an understanding of family is the result of the problem.
Can I ask you a question about your question?
Yes, of course.
So, basically what you were trying to say is, your question was, why are people of different religions divided?
Kind of, but specifically as an African American, I find that we are less open to interfaith dialogue. I'm gonna say the dialogue, because I think if I called 10 Muslims right now and say we're gonna be feeding people with your church and your church, they will come. And maybe I'm kind of answering my own question in a way. But I find if I say we're gonna have this dialogue, would you come and interact with the person of the Baptist faith and Catholic faith and the Jewish faith, they may not come. So I'm just asking, what do you think is going on? What do you think is having us not as willing to dialogue, talk, and share? Of course, the talking and share.
So, well, I'm just gonna tell you from like my view of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, me personally, wait, actually I can use me and some of my friends for examples, but me personally, before I started like activism and things like that, one of my friends from when I was like 7 or 8, his dad is Muslim, so he prayed 5 times a day, and I see him praying. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm praying. And then I was like, oh, my bad. And then I see him there again. I'm like, what in the? So then it just took me a while, like a couple times visiting. And then I was like, then one day I said to my mom, can I go pray with him? And then I prayed with him, and that was at night. So I think that was his 5th time praying that day, at night. And when he was praying, I asked him if he could like translate it for me so I could understand what he was saying. And it was basically the same thing that I say before I go to sleep. So I was like, okay, so it's the same thing, it's just the way you say it. So what I think it is that the way we view things. So someone does it differently, so we're like, I'm different, and I won't fit in with what they're doing. So I think it's all about how you fit in with what's going on around you. And for an example, but it's not related to religion, like with my friends, like when they found out I was doing activism, they were like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, because it's to help the community. And then they're like, that's it. They're like, okay. and then my mom one day, she said, do you know any friends that would be interested in like starting a business on activism? And I was like, none of them are really interested in that stuff. So mainly it's all about viewpoint and whether or not you feel like you're gonna fit in to what's happening around you.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
just
This is his mother. She wants to share a few thoughts, then we're going to switch to
really quickly, and the reason being is he used the perfect example. When he came to me, he was about 6 or 7, just like he said, and he said, "Mommy, Mr. T is praying, and I want to pray with him. Is it okay?" And I said, "Of course it's okay. You're gonna pray 5 times a day? Yes, please." and Thayer had a conversation with me, and he said, "You know, Siobhan, I know you guys are Christians, and I'm Muslim. Is it okay if the boys pray with me?" And I said, "Absolutely." And the part that he left out was when he came to me and asked me the differences. We had a long conversation about how after Mr. T translated, and he even realized that Mr. T was saying, we had a long conversation about who Jesus is in Islam, right? And the part that continued and the part that I teach them now, even coming here and sharing his story here, is that if God is as big as we say he is, then he can provide different paths for people to reach him, right? So it's up to us to understand and respect each other's path and to understand, like you said, we're all serving the same God. If I was born in a different place, or if my mom wasn't my mom, then I might be a part of Islam, right? And I am, because we're serving the same God. Our stories come from the same place, and he started at the same place. So that's one thing that I contribute to them. We were walking to church on Easter, and my son said, "I wonder what Catholic church is like on Easter." And I said, "Well, we're running late for Baptist church, so let's go and catch this service right here on the corner." And we went in there, and it was a different experience for him. Completely. I mean, it wasn't even in the language he understood, right? But he understood the Spirit of God. He understood who and what we were praising and where that Spirit really lies. So that is the biggest thing. So I never chose for them. I just say, hey, you have a path, and you better figure out which one, or we're going to have the answer to the same God. So that's it. I just wanted to share that piece with you. So
Thank you. Thank you. God bless. God bless. We lost a little bit of the time that we made, but I think it was very important. And I just want to close on this note. The sister question, she mentioned interfaith.
She did say
Interfaith is faith amongst the same people, the same faith. I found, once again, narratives are a good story to bridge that gap. And the example that I think my sister mentioned, the story of Joseph. When Joseph was thrown in, and there's many shades to these stories. That Joseph was thrown in the well and sold into slavery, wound up in the house of Pharaoh. And this is how he got.
Well, actually, he wound up in the house of the Grand Vizier. He wasn't with
Okay.
Moses was with Pharaoh, but he was in the
Grand Vizier, but in a leadership position.
Yes.
In a leading country,
Yes.
dominating country or superpower at that time.
Yes, sir.
And he came and influenced upon the economic and trade of that system.
Yes.
Okay, but then you have Moses, being inspired, his mother being inspired by God to put him in the boat, a little, manger, whatever you want to call it, basket in the water, but going up into the house of Pharaoh.
Yes.
Now there's so many immigrants coming through the boat, looking for freedom, looking for justice. Okay, but they wound up in the same house that we wound up. So this is the beginning to show you intrafaith, because we understand the language of both books and all scriptures.
Good.
So no further ado, we can take a little break, get some coffee. The next panel will be coming up, and that is Brother Clarence Cherry and Phil Pannell. Talking about organizing, both because it's important for us to come to organize and to mobilize. People of faith, people of spirit, we have to rise.
Yes.
One of the foundations that, and I thought I said I was going to stop, that prayers, there's like 3 prayers that help build my foundation. One of the first prayer, and I think the sister alluded to, our Father out in heaven, hallowed be thy name. His kingdom come on earth, as it is in heaven. So it's my obligation, because I'm taught as a Muslim, to be a Khalifa or a custodian, a guardian, a stewardship. That I have to bring, I'm responsible, we're all responsible for bringing God's kingdom. And there's many paths that we have to be open.
Yes.
And so we have to breathe this amongst others, because we got to get this thing going.
Yep.
That it's time for that human being. You know,
Yes.
those that have lost, you know, their soul, their spirit is dead. You know, we have to stand up and bring our friendship, bring that relationship and networks. Thank you. Please get some
Thank
coffee.
you.
Yeah, no, everything's doing well.
Minister.